Welcome to the Inspiration Hour with Luce M. Mack, as we inspire by sharing real people's stories and their exhilarating journeys. We all learn by sharing our gifts and talents through the power of talking with one guest at a time. Get cozy, get your favorite nighttime drink, and let's get ready to be wowed with inspiration.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining another Inspiration Hour with me, Luz. I'm so happy. I have my friend Irisneri back. If you joined us on the live, this is actually us joining on Zoom, and I want to just give a nice recap of who she is, why she's so important, and why I'm highlighting her on the podcast. So she is a mother and a genealogist that is empowering others to connect with families and their ancestors. Join Irisneri and me as we learn about how to do family research and to fall in love with the richness of our family and give tips on how you can start your own search. So without further ado, let's welcome her on and let us learn, because this is all about her. So hi.
Hello. So happy to be here. Thank you.
So excited. So we have to dig deep. What were you doing before this call? Because I think I need to highlight that. The fact that you do genealogy every day, 24/7.
Yeah.
Like the new TikTok. I started a business at genealogy 24/7. What did you do before you joined this call?
Before this call, like today?
Yeah.
So today was one of those that I periodically will meet with my clients and give them updates on what I found. So that's what I had today. I had my client meeting, updating them on it was actually their first update on what I have found so far. And, I always get nervous before these calls because, I want everybody to feel like, wow, that's unbelievable. And for some reason, I always psych myself out. But
so the research that you do is just digging into their family roots. Is it it could be either from the family genealogy line, like the mother or the father, or
it could go whichever. Back. Yeah, it could be from either side or both. I mean, I'm working on both, but I do take it step by step. So I do focus on one grandparent, for example. And in this case, I was concentrating on the maternal grandfather. And that's where I'm focused right now, and his line. So which means I'm going to go back to the great grandparents, second great grandparents, and third great grandparents, and so on. So far right now, I'm at the third great grandparents.
So you guys, this should let you know how serious we're going to get. Okay. This woman does all the digging. You need to find out who your family is. And this is so important because we're healing families, connections. We're just really making sure we have the knowledge to empower our future kids so they know where they come from. So we're going to take it back to basics. How did you get started?
Oh, wow. So I've always had a love for history, always. And that's why I wanted to do when I went to college. And then I went the business admin route because I was afraid I wouldn't find a job because I didn't want to be a teacher. So I'm and I thought in my mind then that's what I thought I was going to do. So I went business admin route, but my love for history has never left, especially my love for family history, and always hearing my grandparents talking about their stories of growing up in Puerto Rico in the 1930s and 1940s, and then how they left, and then they left Puerto Rico and went to New York City. They went back to Puerto Rico. And how that experience, all that, I always love to hear about all of that. And I don't own one business admin book, but yeah, my library is all either history nonfiction or historical fiction, everything. And so back 8 years ago, I finally said, let me start with my family. At least let me see how I, feed that part of me, that passion of mine. And I thought I was going to be just fine, just looking into my own family. And then as I started to discover, as I started to connect and started to heal, and then started to share with my family, I wanted more, and I wanted to do more. And that's where it started to grow. And my passion, and as I shared with my family and saw their own healing and their own empowerment start with the knowledge of their ancestors, that's when I knew that this is something important and I need to do for other Latinos and Latinas and Latinx, because there's just so many of us, I believe, that don't know enough about our own history. Even people that live in the islands, that are in the countries, in our own countries, that are not here in the United States. I think we're not taught our history as complete as it should be. So it's just, my passion grew. And then 2 years ago, I finally decided to do it professionally.
So I'm very touched about what you're doing. And I know I have shared this in the past, but it's important to share. You helped me connect to my grandfather and know a little bit more about him. He passed away before I was born. And I think having some kind of closure of knowing, the reason of his death and other things surrounding that, it was actually very therapeutic. I do work hard to be close to my family, but I know, like me, there's a lot of people that don't have that opportunity to know their family. Like they started new families, meaning like they have one of their own, or like their friends became family because they were either grew up in foster homes or totally removed. And I wanted to know, how would you go about telling people you still have access to know where you come from?
Still do. I mean, the good thing, if you've been adopted and you have no connection to any biological family, I think the best way for you to start is DNA. Definitely by doing your DNA. And I know that's something that not everybody's comfortable doing, but if you are someone that is adopted, that I think that's one of the best ways now. For example, Ancestry is amazing in the sense that that DNA connects you with DNA matches. Then those DNA matches, some of them have completed or have started genealogy trees. So by looking at their trees, then you're able to start even kind of seeing who you're related to and actually help you start. In that case, sometimes too, I am a genealogist. I'm I would say regular genealogist, where I find vital records and I build my trees based on vital records and history research and on the documents. But there's also forensic genealogists, and the forensic genealogists will look at DNA results and are trained in reading those DNA results.
How different is that from what you do?
Excuse me. Sorry.
No worries. It happens to all of us.
It's funny because I hear the dog, the kids going crazy, and the phone rang.
Never a dull moment. No, I get it.
I'm sorry. So the difference the genealogists like me, I do have basic knowledge on DNA. So I'm able to look at DNA results and look at least close matches, and able to use and are able to read a little bit. I mean, you always have to have a little bit of basic knowledge in DNA, but a forensic genealogist has deep knowledge of DNA and how DNA works. So they're probably able to, they're able to look, and they do use strategies. If you don't have close matches, they're able to look at your other matches, your fourth, fourth, fifth matches, cousin matches, and even look at that and able to help you narrow down who you might be related to.
That's interesting. And I think through your own search, because we met through our mentorship program, Denise, you found out you're related to her. So
crazy.
That was so crazy. And then through you helping me, I found out someone I grew up with, I'm related to them. And it was really hilarious because I was like, you had said something, I can't remember the statement, like, you will find out everyone you're related to. So genealogy does not lie.
Genealogy does not. It's crazy. Like, I've actually have clients that will come on and I'm doing their genealogy and they're cousins of mine.
What? Yeah. How many times that's happened? I need to know.
Right now, I think out of 7 that I've had from Puerto Rico, at least
Mhm.
4 of them.
No.
Yeah.
And are they from like the area of Puerto Rico you grew up? Because I always
Some
hear.
of them are, or they're spread out, but it's so funny because one person that I spoke to, she's giving me her information, and I look at her husband's last name, and I just start laughing, and I'm like, it's funny. I have cousins of that last name in Cabo Rojo, and he's like, well, she starts laughing. She's like, well, then you're cousins because he is from those the last name Kohlbergs from Cabo Rojo.
Oh, wow, that's funny.
So it happens a lot.
So I was born Luz Maria Salcedo, right? I had my mother's maiden name. And there's a town in Dominican Republic called Salcedo.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, how are you from like Puñal Santiago? Like your family, like that's where they reside. But your last name is Salcedo. I'm like, I don't know. Like I find the whole thing hilarious to me. And then all of a sudden, because I wanted to become a United States citizen, I had to change my last name. So I became Luz Maria Filion, which is French, very removed from Dominican culture. And it turned out the Filion last name, although I don't have a lot of family members by that last name, I found out that there was a hyphen of Salcedo Filion hyphenated together. So
yeah, it was a
yeah,
apellido junto.
Yeah.
Mucho lo Ortiz de Peña. There's a lot Ortiz de Peña, Ramirez de Arellano. Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is because as a child, I was always really upset that I didn't have the same last name as the rest of my family. So I felt like I didn't, but like I very much felt other.
Yeah, yeah.
And that kind of like confirmed to me that I'm not other. I'm very much, family. And I wanted to know if you had any experiences that you help your clients like that, where they feel like they didn't belong to their family and they found out something pretty cool about genealogy that actually affirms them and say, no, you belong in this family.
I haven't run into a cross yet about them feeling like they don't belong in their family, but it's more like I think the most I have found so far, it's more people that are the diaspora here and trying to find that connection with them, with the country and with their culture that they haven't been able to be a part of and grow up to be a part of. And when they realize how deep the roots go in, let's say, Puerto Rico, Mexico, you see that they feel that empowerment starts happening, the healing, that connection. It's like it makes them feel like, okay, yeah, I'm here, and I also embrace my American side, but I am Mexicana, I am Mexicano, I'm Puerto Riqueño. That is a part of me. That is a big part of me.
That's beautiful.
And it's amazing to see that, because so many of us, I think, are trying to find that connection because, for X or Y reason, we're here, we're in the United States, and we are not able to easily find that in history books or in school because that's not what we're taught.
No, unfortunately, it's not. And I feel like it was erased at some point, and that's something that I feel like because genealogy is available to us, we have regained that with that power.
Yes. Yeah. Like to see, like one person I helped, she always felt when she saw how far her Hispanic family, their history goes back, tied to the United States, to the 1800s. And she's like, mi gente estuvo aquí también. Like, we were also part of history.
That's powerful.
She felt it empowered her so much to know that, that Wall Street culture in New York City, her family from Cuba and from Spain was actually part of that history too. But we don't know that.
We wouldn't have known that, right?
We would
if it hadn't been for your work. And
yeah.
I want to shift gears a little bit because I think there is something that's important to highlight. You were curious about this. This is not what you did. This is not what you went to school for.
Oh.
And I want to kind of dive into who you were before you picked this up? And who was that?
I was a complacent,
Don't say
sort
that.
of.
That's not true. You were like a go-getter, inspiring. What are you
Well, I mean,
talking
in my
about?
old career, I was
Okay.
just like, I was good at it. I knew, and I was knowledgeable about it, but it was not my passion.
So what was that?
Resources.
Human resources. But I mean, like, there's an interesting connection there. You're still working with people, you know?
Still work, and that was the part of human resources that I did enjoy, was working with employees, finding out information for them. Actually, it's funny because I think through human resources was also how I found my gift for research, because I was eventually known as the person, if you want to find something, you go to Iris. So, but yeah, because I love trying to, if they didn't know the answer to that question, I didn't know the answer to the question, I would research and get that answer. And that's who I was there. So there was a lot there's a reason why I was in human resources. And eventually, because a lot of those skills that I learned there has helped me here, especially the people skills. And because I'm very pro employee, extremely. So I made it my mission as an HR person to always be there for the employee and help them. That's why I was there. And so a lot of that has carried over now to genealogy. So my mission now is to help the Latinas, and Latinx learn about their history. And I'm going to do everything I can.
I think it's not only remarkable what you've been able to do in a short amount of time, because you went to school for a different profession than what you're doing. You have now a client base that's following you to find answers about their family. And you also was able to find your own research on your family. I know you're still doing some more.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's important to ask the question, for those who are getting started, how should they even consider getting started? Because there's a lot of questions out there, and I feel like it's overwhelming. Like, I know there was one point I had asked you, like, oh, I want to know about my grandfather, but how do I even start? Because I don't even think this will lead me here. Because sometimes genealogy is not linear. Like, you're not going to find the answers linear, and it's okay.
And it's okay. Yes, absolutely. Like with genealogy, you literally you're going to go from the grandma, the grandpa, to the uncles and the aunts and the cousins and all of that. You're going to jump around in order to start piecing things together. I think the best way, that's one thing you need to know about a genealogy. It's not a marathon. Mm-hmm. Or it's not a race. I'm sorry, it's not a race. It's something that's going to take you time, and just do a little bit every day, because it can get overwhelming. Because you're going to have so many things. So that's why one of the first thing I always say, focus your research. Who do you want to know the most about? Yes, because I say that, and a lot of people are like, but I want to know about everything.
Yeah, that's just too wide of a net. You might catch something, like a lot of some things that you might, be overwhelming.
Yeah, and you're gonna miss so much, because I was one of those. That's based on my number one mistake I made. I put in all the information for all my four grandparents, and it started going crazy, and it was like, oh, what did I do? And then I started researching on properly, and then I refocused my research. So definitely focus your research. Who do you want to know the most about? So if you want to know about abuela, my great grandmother from my dad's side,
o la tatarabuela, como dice.
Yeah.
La tatara.
Era la mamá de mi abuelo. La mamá de mi abuelo. Then focus on that line. Focus on your grandfather and his mother. And so you want to, then after you know who you want to focus on, the second step is write everything down that you know. Yeah. Or that you think you know, because sometimes those are clues. Just everything that comes to mind when you think about them. So I think that takes a lot of like quiet time, because you're gonna sit down and write, and you'd be surprised. Sometimes you start remembering things that you didn't even think you remembered. Yeah. And then the third one, and I know this one is hard for some people, but if you are someone that happens to have family around, talk to family.
That's a hard one.
That's a hard one. Yes, and it's funny.
That's a hard one.
That can be hard.
Because I remember, my father that raised me, whom I love dearly and will always be my father. I remember when I had questions about my biological father, it was like, it wasn't like they were mad that I had those questions. They understood how normal those questions are, but
right.
Like they were never answered, right? Like a lot of the questions I had. And I think that's what it is, because sometimes people are not in your life for a reason. And when you do genealogy, you kind of find out the reason,
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's a little messy, and I understand that it can be uncomfortable to ask some family members, and because we're culturally, I think we're very vocal, but we don't like to talk about the hard things.
It's true. I always said this with a friend, like the Latino, Latina, Latinx community, we're passionate, we're vocal, we can fight you, we can love you, we can hate on you. But when it comes to family, we turn to mouses. We're like, like we don't ruffle those feathers.
No, there's certain things that you just don't talk about.
And I don't know if it's because we were raised under la chancleta, el manoplazo, the belt.
Probably.
All these things. We're like, no, we know those are questions you don't ask. And just because of formality, and we've been raised to be very formal. Like I'm still to this day scared of my mother and my father. Like to this day. Like I'm like, sí, mami, sí, papi, like le beso la mano and everything. And they're like not even me. And like I'm not feeling well, and I'd be like, Mom, tú quieres el sancocho, por favor. There's like I revert back into a child. But like there's some questions you just know, like you can't ask.
So that's the only. I mean, I find it with my grandparents, it was easy to talk because they're always talking about their past. But especially my grandma. But my dad was hard, especially talking about his mother, because she passed when he was 10. And even in family, it's funny because even in family get-togethers, I would see all the siblings get together, and I would see the passion, and then all of a sudden that passion, after a few beers, would turn into crying. And it always surrounded my abuela, and when her name would come through, so it was like I didn't dare to ask. So, and I was afraid to. So with him, I actually found out information first, and then went to him. And I think that helped. I think that was a good opening, because when it started, he started to really talk about her, and I started to hear things I had not heard before about her, which was really cool.
What does he think about it now that he's seen you in all your glory, like going through your, through this profession that you're doing? Because it's amazing, your business. How does he feel about it now, talking about it, opening up, and helping you do more research, which is not only for you, but for him?
He's actually become very supportive. Like now he really asks, and we'll have conversations, and I'll tell him what I've discovered, new things I've discovered, and he'll go, really? And then I'll show him. And he's become a lot more supportive, and he's very much business admin too. That's where I got my business admin side from. And so he'll start actually even advising me on the business. Make sure you do this, make sure you do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
I
love that. That's
because I was afraid to tell him when I quit my full time to do this full time. It was like, oh my God, what is, even now, like you were saying, how we're grown woman.
Let's not say the age just yet. Let people guess. We're 20 plus. How about that?
There you go. I like that.
But no, I feel you. My mom, when I first started writing, I don't think she was not supportive. I think she was like, oh, this is different, like,
Yeah.
And now she's like, keep writing. One day you're gonna quit this. You're gonna move into your own home. Like, she's like manifesting this future that I would love, And she sees that it brings a lot of joy in me. And she's also seen some of the heartaches that I had acquired.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I feel like in anything in life, everything is gonna be a little messy at first, but it has to. Nothing, like you're not gonna get anywhere if you stay where you're comfortable. And I know you know that for a fact because you told Denise you wanted to become a genealogist. And she's like, yeah, why don't you start like tomorrow? And you looked at her like she has 7 horns.
Like, what are you what? Huh?
And you were someone that said, I went kicking and screaming. And I always remember you because I love you so much. And I was like, I love honest people about their feelings and about like, are you insane? You want me to quit my day job to do this full time? You should talk about how this business started, because you were like, no.
Yeah, no.
Like anyone else but me. And why is that?
I think culturally, I think the way we're brought up, women, but at the same time, I think, my own experiences and thinking, oh no, I'm 20 plus and
I love it. 20 plus. You're 20 plus.
And how can I do this now? I have children. I this is a career that I've been trying to work through almost 20 years at that point. How am I going to do this? But then, I started with being Enye, watching that documentary, and obviously my own Enye experience coming into play, that belong, and finally feeling like, oh my God, I wasn't alone feeling this way.
And you could do it. And that I could do it, which is it's a hard feeling to feel, because I think I was telling this to another woman. When boys are boys, we encourage them to make mistakes. When girls are little girls, we encourage them to be perfect.
Yeah, especially when you're older. You're the oldest and you're a girl. And I'm the oldest and I'm a girl. And so
that was it.
That was it.
Yeah, you had no room to think for yourself because you were so freaking worried about being perfect and following that little path, whatever that path may be.
Oh yeah. Like I did everything by the book. I met my husband, I was 15, but we didn't get married and didn't live together until I was 24. Because if we were going to live together, we had to be married. Now it's like, what was I thinking? I spent all that money. I could have just lived with him and then married, but okay. But
it's the Latina culture. Yeah. I remember when I was a single mother when I met Tony. It's a funny story, but I met Tony when I was pregnant with my oldest child. And I was with her father, and it didn't work out. And then I was done with men. I was just like done. And Tony was a really good friend. And I think something that I remember was that we were really good friends, and we were like, I told him, I'm never doing this shit again. Like, this is horrible. And Andrea was born, and I remember someone's like, no, you can't be a single woman your whole life. You're gonna fall in love. You're gonna do this again. And life has a very funny way of making you realize that love could be right in front of you. So me and Tony fell in love eventually. Our friendship grew a little bit more. And I remember when I said, I'm going to live with him, my mom was like, wait, you're not married? You're not going to get married first? I'm like, this is not his child. What do you mean? Like, because the traditions just came in strong.
I know.
Like, I know, don't live with him. What are people going to say? Like all the...
And it was more my dad. I still remember, like, even my dad, my mom was always a bit more open-minded, or at least she was brought up very strict also, but she always was very open-minded and very easy to talk to. But my dad, I still remember a few months, Victor and me had been together by that time almost 8 years. I had gone to college, done all that. Few months before getting married, Victor was going to come from Puerto Rico to visit me because we were long distance on top of everything.
Oh, good Lord.
So,
amor del bueno.
Me dijeron mucho del otro, pero
amor del bueno.
We hung on.
Yeah.
we hung on. But yeah, so because we were long distance for the first 3 years of our French relationship. Then I was in Puerto Rico for 4 years, almost 4 years. And then I moved back here and we were long distance again.
Okay, so you do genealogy, right? Have you written this romance story between you and Victor so people know about it, besides this being documented here?
No, I know, I've thought about it.
Because that's part of the genealogy, documenting these moments, right?
And I have the letters because, yes, I don't want to age myself, but back then,
20 plus.
long distance, you paid a lot per minute and it was not free.
I remember when un novio te hacía una serenata por teléfono. You're like, oye esto. Because those minutes, that long distance.
So we have letters. He has boxes of letters from me, and I have a box full of letters from him.
And you kept them?
I have them.
You never scanned them or anything? You just have the official letter. Like it didn't get old or worn out?
Well, no, some of them because it's pencil. Okay. So some of them are getting a little harder to read. But yeah, I kept them. So
the reason I'm bringing all this up, this is genealogy too, you guys.
This is genealogy.
We did research on her love life, and you just found out a little research on my love life. It's not very exciting right now because
my grandchildren will be like, "Oh, that's how my grandma and grandpa met."
Yeah, my great grandchildren are like, "Oh, wow! So grandma wanted you to get married first when you started dating." But no, it's really beautiful. And that's the connections that you've been helping crystallize in family, helping them cement it somewhere on paper, on their heads, the moment, so they can never forget. And I think that's something I really cherish from you. So what's next? What could we expect to see down the road and where you're going?
What's next? I mean, I'm still focusing, trying to get this get my Descubre tu Historia, making it so that I am reaching out to as many Latinos and Latinas so they can start inspiring them to get started with their research, either me doing the research or them starting their own research. So I will be doing master classes in the Project Enya group with Denise Soler. I'll be doing some monthly master classes on how to start your genealogy. I just did the first one and trying to give tips and just keep going and getting out there more and more and helping as many people as I can.
I saw the replay and I was really happy. All the questions I saw in the chat. I mean, like it's really inspiring because it really shows that although this is not something people talk about often, they usually talk about, anything other than family connections, but we all truly crave that connection with our families, to know where we're from. So it was really inspiring to see people like trying to get motivated to start their own journey to connect with their families.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible because I never thought I would be here again. I was in HR, just trying to get through every day. And I finally said to Denise, my dream, never expecting her to say, well, mujer, why aren't you doing it?
That sounds just like her. Well, mujer.
Yeah, that's exactly mujer.
Like, get your Nikes on. You better start running. Start doing this.
Design what was it? My first challenge was to design my business card. I don't even know if I want a business.
Oh my God. I remember that challenge.
And I did it.
Because she made you say it vocally. Like, I think this is a good mentor, you guys. She makes you say things out loud, the things that you might not want to say, but you're thinking in your head. Because the truth of the matter is, until you don't say it, until you don't speak it into existence, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. And I could barely say I'm a genealogist.
Yeah.
Because I didn't go to school for that. I went to school for business admin. And you know what? And either way, with knowing that you don't need a certificate to be professional genealogist, it's just having the experience of research alone, you can start. I mean, yes, it is very advisable to start courses because especially if you're going to help others. But even knowing all of that, I was so scared and I was so intimidated. And so when she finally said to me, for me to say I'm a genealogist, I still remember that first time. It felt so like weird.
I know that for me, and I will always have this very special place in my heart for Denise as a not only as a mentor, but I consider her a friend, is because I never considered myself an author for a while. And I know we talked about that, but like it's really hard when you work so hard on a goal and you accomplish it to give yourself credit and celebrate the moment, right?
Yep.
So she's like, no, you are an author. You're not like dabbling in writing, you are doing it. Like those are two different things.
Yes.
And I'm so happy that she motivated you to start this journey, because if she hadn't, I wouldn't have found out some of the answers that I was hoping for.
Exactly. And I just, yeah.
Your help. And then this was the kicker. Like when people joined EDA, they got an hour with you. Like everyone got to enjoy this research with you. So I'm really grateful for that opportunity, and it'll forever be in my heart.
I will never, I mean, forever, I would not be here. I would, 2 years later, I eventually went to I did go to BU and got a certificate through there, and I'm here. I filmed a scene for Denise's next film because I did research for her for the next film, and I had my finding my roots moment, like I call it. That was something literally daydream.
I kind of like want to cry for
daydream.
Like I kind of low key want to cry for you, because although it was not there in your whole filming situation, I just could imagine your whole aura, like you were glowing, you were like excited to share all this research with her, and then to be part of her film. That's amazing. That's amazing. And kudos to you. Like you did that.
I know.
You did that, by the way. Let it sink in. You did that. Did the research.
Gonna make me emotional.
20 plus and looking fabulous with the red lipstick. Can I tell you? What advice do you have for those who want to follow your footsteps?
For those that would want to probably go into it professionally, definitely start with your family. That is where you're going to get the core of your practice. That's how a lot of us start, with our own family research, and then eventually just start slowly. Maybe there's friends that are curious. See if they are curious. They want to know, and do it for them. It's just a way of you getting more practice. There is a lot of free courses through Legacy Tree, Family Tree. Family Search has a lot too. And
Family Search is extensive though, like because they also have access, I think, to view old microfiches digitally.
Yeah, I know. I spend every day in those.
Like that's the practice. So you guys heard it from Edie's herself. If you want to get started, this is a great tool to use. I'm also gonna include in the podcast episode notes these links, as well as her contact, because she also does provide these services for people that need the extra hand holding. And there's no shame. I've gone to her myself, so I found some information. So I wanna, we got to know a lot about how you started, where you're at, and what's next, and some of the advice. But now we just want to know about you and how your head thinks. So we're gonna play my game, how I like to close. Finish the sentence. So my dream vacation is?
I said Puerto Rico.
Yeah. My suegra is moving back home to Puerto Rico, to Luquillo. And I told her, as soon as yo tengo mi clavito, my little money, I'm going with her, and we're going to go to El Yunque. We're going to do it all. Y comer pescado frito. I can't live without
my children, my family.
I really wanted sancocho today, so I'm going to say sancocho. So I love my family, but right now sancocho comes like a little
I'm not hungry right now.
Con aguacate, okay? My favorite food is, and it's a bad one.
Huh?
Your favorite food is? What is it?
Oh, mofongo.
Oh, yeah.
Relleno de pollo.
Oh, my God. Yes. My biggest inspiration is?
Oh, wow. I mean, I said it, it's my kids, my daughter. I mean, they're the reason I finally made the decision to do what I do, because I'm raising them to do what they love and what makes them happy, versus following this book of rules and doing things and I found myself saying that but not practicing it.
It's hard because we never had that example, right? Like
you gotta sacrifice.
That's true. People describe me as
kind.
Yes.
Kind.
My friend, you're beyond kind. You're witty too.
I get cranky, people. Cranky.
I never saw that ever. To this day, Irisneri is still the person I'm like, okay, I messed up. I said this. How bad am I? And I don't know why, like, you indulge my bad behavior, and I love you for that. Because I see you as, and it's so funny, but I see you as a sibling, like in a weird way.
I hear you.
I believe it. Like, my husband knows about you. He's like, I feel so bad for this woman. Like, you bother her.
Don't bother me.
But like, I love you to death, and I'm so grateful to highlight you, to honor you, the work that you're doing, and the fact that you're helping us connect with our past and bring it forward. You know what I mean? Bring it forward to the future.
Absolutely. You know? Give it to our children. You know, we were brought up not knowing enough about our history, thinking our history was not there, but it is there. We were there. That was the thing. Even though if it's not, just because we're not taught in schools now that we were there, we were.
And the way we change the dynamic and the dialogue is by giving this to our children. This is it. Because if we don't, they're not going to know what to share with their future.
Exactly. I mean, just to know that my daughter acknowledges that, oh, I'm so proud of my Taino heritage. That was huge for me, for her to realize and to be proud of it. I want her to be proud of all of it. But, you know, our Taino heritage is something that we're not taught. We're only taught the basics. Even in Puerto Rico, we're only taught the basics of it. You know, lo bohío, los semi. But other than that, you're not really taught details of what are the ceremonies? What do they mean? Who were they as a people? And it's beautiful that is changing. I think that's changing big time now.
I hope so. I think
so.
I'm very grateful that we live in the United States and they're trying to incorporate more of our traditions so they could be celebrated. But beyond United States, I hope for globally that it's talked about and it's accepted, because I know in other places they don't have that opportunity to know about their history and their families.
I mean, even when I talk to people, my own family from Puerto Rico, la Sociedad de Genealogía de Puerto Rico están haciendo esto y esto. They're doing this and this and that. They're like, really? They have that? Really? And they live in Puerto Rico. But that's how these things are not getting out there. So I think that's why I'm trying to get out there and talk about them so people know that these resources, sometimes these organizations simply just don't have the budget to be able to get out there as much. So that's why I'm trying, because to make people realize it is there. People are working to preserve our history. Just because you don't hear that it's happening, it doesn't mean it's not happening. It is happening.
I remember once someone was talking about writing a book for girls that happen to be Dominicana, to look like themselves. And a friend of mine told me that there was a conversation happening, and they're like, it's out there. Her name is Luz Mack. She wrote Pequeña Maria. Just because you don't see it, that's why we need to. And it's sad. It's the lack of opportunity to be visible, because the channels to get known, it's very limited for some people. It takes a while. So I'm happy there's people like you that are not only advocating for it, but really trying to get on many, many platforms and talk about it.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, let's have the conversation.
We have to. Because I think that's how we can spark more curiosity. The minute people know, oh, wait, there is information out there, it's going to spark that curiosity in them. And they're going to want to know. Eventually, they will want to know.
This is awesome. I want to thank you again, Iris, for joining us. And I love you to death. And like always, I'll be bothering you.
And I don't mind. Please.
That brings us to the end of our Inspiration Hour with Luz, and I hope you're feeling unstoppable. If you enjoy our show, please follow me on Instagram or Facebook at LuzMacOfficial, or check out my website at www.luzmac.com. Review, like, and heart us. And don't forget to spread the inspiration with others. And be sure to come back next week as I help you find your inspiration in the little things, one talk at a time.